in the sense that just networking is kind of the big key. And I kind of got my start. I was really, really lucky. Right out of high school, I got a job at CBS, a CBS affiliate in Michigan. That it was very rare. I was the youngest person on the crew, but luckily, through somebody, a mutual person I went to high school with, her dad was the GM over there, and so he kind of allowed me to come in and work. I started as a studio camera operator, worked my way up, did floor directing, audio, and all that, but ended up kind of being bored with it. There's only so many creative moves you can do in a news environment with a camera. So I left that, moved to Chicago, went to Columbia, and kind of through Columbia, like Bill said, made a really good friend with an instructor of mine who he kind of set the tone for me as far as making connections, Bill being one of them, and one day I'd love to take the family tree of jobs and say, okay, this job came from this person, which came from this person, and I bet you it could probably all come down to Frank. And I can't stress enough how important, no matter what end of the business you're in, that networking is the key thing. If you're potentially sitting next to your employer in the future, or employee, you could be hiring the person sitting next to you for anything. So that's the big thing for me in this business, was just completely being able to work with people and networking within the business. Because the best example I can give is I worked on a show for the History Channel where we followed tugboat captains. I don't know if anybody saw it. It was called Great Lake Warriors. It only lasted one season. It didn't. The year we were out a couple years ago, and the weather was not very good. It was actually, I think, 40 degrees all winter, and so we didn't have much of a story. So the show didn't really succeed that well. But I got that job through somebody I went to college with, and we all worked together at Frequency TV, which is like their station that they had there. And there's only like 10 of us, 10 core television students, and basically, she got this girl Reagan. She got a job as a post supervisor, and they were looking for another camera operator. So she goes, "Well, I've got this guy." Gave my name to the showrunner, and then I was, busy for 5 months, working 5 months straight on the show. So it's all about just making those connections and being with the peers that you're sitting next to right now. I mean, that's the big key. Another story, I think the same thing happened. I had this group that we would always, we had class together, and every night we'd go out to the bar over at Manhattan's down the road here, and I got a phone call last year from this girl that I haven't talked to in 3 years or so, and she was basically saying, I just got hired as a producer on this travel show, we need a DP. And a week later, I was on a plane to Ireland to shoot for a week for this show, and I've been their DP ever since. So it's so important to just be able to work with people and get to know them, get to know your peers around you, and get to know your instructors. Because for me, that was who got me going in the business, was one of my instructors. So that's kind of the key element for me in this business. So I'm trying to think, is there, you guys want to do radio, right? Most of you are, this is a lot of you are radio students, correct?
But they're going to do TV.
But you're going to do TV as well? Okay. So, with the marriage of the two, you guys will really kind of need to know the basics of everything. That's another thing I can think. The way the business has kind of transformed over the last 20 years. When I was at CBS, we had 13 people on the crew for a news broadcast. Now there's 4. Everything's automated. You got automated cameras. You got a director that does the TD's job by hitting just a button. And kind of that's another thing, is learn every aspect of the business, because I like working with producers that know production. If a producer doesn't know production, then I end up, finding myself a lot more stressed, because they don't understand how long it takes to set up a shot, how long it takes to do, whether it's filming for reality. I do when I do reality, my title is shooter producer, so I'm shooting as well as producing the scene while I'm shooting. And so the business has kind of changed in the last 10, 20 years as far as you got to be kind of a one-man band and learn everything. You know, I mean, obviously there's different aspects. You can work, this is a great town to work sports if anybody wants to do sports. I mean, this is probably the biggest, if not, yeah, it probably is the biggest for sports, because even, you know, New York and LA don't, even though there's sports, there's the same amount of sports teams. I think you got Big Ten Network here. You have, I have a contact through a crewer for ESPN. So every time ESPN comes in town, I got a phone call. You know, can you work this job? Can you work this game? Can you work this game? So
you have Program Productions, which is here, which is right by the Lombard campus. 2,600 people are on their list of freelancers. So
that's almost everybody in this town. I mean, it's not that big. Yeah. And one of my instructors that Bill was talking about, Frank, kind of was the start of my career. As every job, I think I could do like a family tree where this job came from this person, probably could all whittle down right to Frank. And you know, that's the biggest thing I can stress to all you guys is to network, because you could be sitting next to your future employer right now. You know, when I was in college, you know, we worked at a TV station, Frequency TV was what it was called, and it was like the core group of the TV department. We all worked there, and for that History Channel show that Bill said, I worked with two other people that I worked with on that at Frequency, worked on that show. We all worked at the same time. So it's interesting how, you know, your instructors and your fellow students, that's your network. You know, you can easily get work from people just by making friends with everybody and getting to know everybody. You know, I could be your next future employer, you know, or you could be my future employer. You know, it's crazy how this business is so small and tight that once you're in it, I mean, you know everybody. And I'm sure radio is probably the same exact way, because it's, you know, they aren't too far apart from one another. But yeah, I basically do everything from television to commercials to I've worked in a few films, music videos, you name it, sports. I've probably done it all. So there's definitely a wide variety of directions to go in the business, and really it's just finding the path you want. I know some of you said you want to be a producer. My wife's a producer, but she started out the same as me, doing grunt work, production work. You know, we pulled cable for ESPN sports, you know, broadcasts for years, and it's backbreaking work. But you know, she kind of found her path as going towards producing. So it's definitely an interesting business. It's, you know, not only do you need the skill to do what you do, but I'd say, and I think Frank was the one that told me this business is 10% skill, 90% working with people, because that's what you are working with. You're working with people, and you're working with different people every job, and without the, you know, proper social skills to, you know, interact with people all the time, you know, this business can be pretty rough. But yeah, I mean, I've worked on reality, I've worked on all different kinds of shows, and it's fun. I like this business. It's a fun business. It's a very grueling business. I've had my fair share of 19-hour days and no overtime. You know, flat rate. You know, it can be tough, but if you can get through all that, it'll